But to Kyle, as I was saying, I told you that I've had some events in the past year that have been dramatic, to say the least. One in particular. I want to go through these with you, try to explain them, and hopefully give you an understanding of why I believe what I believe. So let's start. In June of last year, I was diagnosed with severe arthritis in my left hip. That there was no hip joint left. I was bone on bone. And I've actually got arthritis in both knees and in both hips, but that was the absolute worst. That was the first time I'd learned that I had arthritis. I kept trying to stretch it out and I couldn't. And some 6, 7 weeks after I got the diagnosis, I was scheduled for surgery. Before that happened, however, my mom died. And my mom was 89. She was in terrible health. And it is a blessing that she is gone. I had had many discussions with her in the years leading up to her death, asking, Mom, do you have anything else you need to accomplish while you're here? And the answer was always no. There were things that she wanted to do. She wanted to see my son graduate from high school, for example. And he actually did graduate from high school before she died, but she couldn't go because she was so ill. When it finally happened, as I say, it was a blessing. She had the opportunity, which she is now enjoying. She is reunited with my dad and my eldest brother, and she's in a much better place, in a much better condition. I miss her horribly, but a blessing. I remember the eulogy that I gave. I was standing up there in front of the attendees at the service in the church, and I said, "Man, I'm just feeling fantastic. I'm in a great mood. My mom is where she needs to be. She's happy." But I said, I don't know how I'm going to be tomorrow. As it turns out, I wasn't all that good the next day. And 8 days after the funeral is when I had the operation. That was much more painful than I thought it would be. Now, my mother's death and the hip operation, not tragedy, just things that it's part of life. However, a few days after the operation, the medications that I was prescribed almost killed me. I came within minutes, not hours, but within minutes of having a rupture in my bladder and then slowly dying. And the medications were FDA approved, of course. One was approved in the 70s, another one in the 90s. There were other ones, but I narrowed it down to these two that really did a number on me. Came through that. Move forward a little bit, and then we have the major event. November 6th, 2021, my 18-year-old son, was shot. His 4 thugs came to his house. They had been building up a false friendship with him, and they came to his home and got him liquored up, got him high, shot him 3 times, and shot his best friend, Josh, who was sitting right next to him, who happened to be there at the time, all for a few ounces of weed, maybe $100. My son, like I said, 3 bullets, 3 shots, 1 in the abdomen, which did the most damage. It splintered, took out parts of it. It perforated the bladder and the colon and the abdomen. He's still dealing with that. He has an operation. By the time that this video is published, the operation will have passed, but it's the first in a series of operations. There is another bullet that is permanently lodged in his spinal column. And there was a bullet behind his right knee. My son is living, breathing, walking. No damage to his knee, no powerless, but permanent damage. His friend, Josh, And I can say his name freely because Josh was all over the news. This whole incident was all over the news. My son's name was withheld for some reason. I don't know. But Josh, he died. 18 years old, a fabulous ice dancer. He was going to go to the Olympics in 2026. His funeral was attended by many hundreds of people, including folks from England, because his reputation and his talent were so well known. I am happy that my son survived, but he shouldn't have. He was left to bleed out. The reason that the police even found him was that Josh had ran out of the house, and he jumped the neighbor's fence, landed in the neighbor's yard, and apparently died when he landed. And the neighbors were a bit upset about having a corpse in the backyard. They called the police. When the police came, they found my son next door bleeding out. The fact that I can even speak about this so calmly, I've come a long way in a very short time. The stress that it put on the relationship between my son and my wife and myself, the stress that it put on my wife and me between us was horrible. The weekend that it happened, it was a Saturday. All I wanted to do was make sure that he was fine. I was in get it done mode. So he had a 14-hour surgery. I was the first family friend that he saw upon waking. And then the next day, my wife and I spent the day in the hospital with him. We found out then that Josh had died because my son, Spishek's last memory of him was him running out the house. But he had already been shot. He was seconds away from dying. So we found out then and there, and that was a horrible, horrible experience. But the next morning, see, I realized that my son was in a safe place. He came through the operation. He was in a safe place. He was where he needed to be, where the right people would take care of him. And the next morning I woke up screaming. Didn't get out of bed until the next evening, Tuesday evening. And then my wife and I had a horrible argument that was totally pointless. And I realized that I needed to take steps to heal. And so I started doing that the next morning, and I am still healing. Have to look at the time. I'm going to break this into 2 parts and release this in 2 parts during the week. So I recorded this video, made the first attempt at this a couple of days ago, and I thought I was doing pretty well. And then I realized I had told a mistruth. I had said that it really hasn't changed me. I still believe what I always believed, but it actually changed something really dramatic in me. And what it changed is that my faith has been deepened. It really should have gone the other way, and for a while it did. But it's been deepened, and I have more faith in what was recorded in Scripture. I have more, I guess maybe a more conservative faith, a more traditional faith in the biblical account, both Hebrew Scripture and Christian Scripture. And it's made a huge difference in my life. And of course, it's made me a better therapist. It's made me a better counselor. It's made me a better human being. But like I said, I want to do this in 2 parts because this is the way I'm going to cover it in 1 part and still try to keep to my 10-minute limitation. So the second part coming up in a couple days. For now, let me say peace 4 fingers. You must be kind to yourself. You must be good to yourself, because that is how we heal the world. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.